more you listen, the more you know. This is Good Politics with Dr. Wilson and Adam Whiteman.
All right, we're back. In that last segment, we had a short primer on bribery, and now we're going to get into something a little bit different.
Yeah, okay, so we had the short primer. Let's apply this to Trump. All right, so you had these Democrats that are accusing Trump of committing bribery.
Bribery.
Is it extortion or is it bribery?
That's bribery.
Calling for bribery.
Either he committed extortion and bribery of a foreign official, or he committed attempted extortion and bribery.
What I want to do is walk through the various defenses that someone who was defending Trump would make. One of the first defenses that they would make is they would say, look, there isn't an exchange here. This is the defense that says there's no quid pro quo. You know, what did Trump do wrong? Well, all he did was freeze aid that was going to flesh out in September anyway. So it was a very short time. I mean, you only have a 1.5 month freeze. I think the freeze went in July, and I think by the time it kicked out, it was early September. And I don't even know exactly when the date was that they authorized it to go out. So you're talking basically a month and a half, something like that he froze the aid. And what he's going to say is that the freezing of the aid was unrelated to anything else that the Democrats are complaining of. All right. So he's going to say that everything was above board. He was making sure the new leader was against corruption, making sure the aims of the distribution were good, which is why at the time Zelensky didn't know of the hold. You know, it's very strange to say that you're doing something wrong to a person, extorting them or bribing them when the person doesn't even know of the hold when you're doing the call. So that's an important fact. Okay, so that's one line of defense. The other line of defense is to say, look, even if there was an exchange, it's lawful. Okay, now here what Trump is saying, that there's valid public policy concerns. To hear that, let's hear clip number 2.
The new prosecutor general in Ukraine, a guy named Ruslan Ryaboshabka, says, I'm going to review 15 cases that were closed by that former prosecutor to include this one of Burisma. It's not a new investigation into Burisma and the Bidens, but does it get there? Can it get there?
Oh, inevitably. I mean, you have to look at it. It's logical.
Democrats would say that the president committed an impeachable act.
Nonsense.
Did he commit a crime?
No, it is not an abuse of power to ask for information from a...
That clip should have said abuse of a foreign power. I cut off the word foreign power at the very end there. The clip went too soon, but you can see the point that he was making. And then the point that he's making is that it's legitimate for Trump to ask Ukrainians to vet these files. We've had prior shows on this, so you should know what we're talking about. And Trump wants these files vetted because they were a matter of public corruption. The one thing that I want to do, though, is this. Some people ask, what was Trump's mental state? You know, he put this hold on the funds, and he's talking to Zelensky on the phone. And the hold is on, and supposedly the way this works, Zelensky doesn't know it's on. And the question is, why does Trump have the hold in the first place? You know what's really interesting is with these Trump people is a lot of times you don't have to guess. He tells you. I mean, if you listen very closely to this clip we're going to play right now, the reporter asks him point blank, asks him, Mr. President, what were you expecting when after Zelensky's phone call? What did you expect him to do? Now, this is a very important question if you listen to what this reporter says, because Trump answers it point blank. He pretty much tells you what he is not hiding anything. I mean, it's all out and open. Listen, play clip number 21.
Mr. President, what exactly did you hope Zelensky would do about the Bidens after his phone call? Exactly.
Well, I would think that if they were honest about it, they'd start a major investigation into the Bidens. It's a very simple answer. They should investigate the Bidens, because how does a company that's newly formed, and all these companies, if you look at, and by the way, likewise, China should start an investigation into the Bidens, because what happened in China is just about as bad as what happened with Ukraine. So I would say that President Zelensky, if it were me, I would recommend that they start an investigation into the Bidens, because nobody has any doubt that they weren't crooked. That was a crooked deal, 100%. He had no knowledge of energy, didn't know the first thing about it. All of a sudden, he's getting $50,000 a month, plus a lot of other things. Nobody has any doubt. And they got rid of a prosecutor who was a very tough prosecutor. They got rid of him. Now they're trying to make it the opposite way, but they got rid. So if I were the president, I would certainly recommend that of Ukraine.
Trump obviously thinks all of this is just above board. You know, I mean, he's asked point blank, what did you expect of Zelensky after that phone call? And that's when the hold is on. And Zelensky doesn't even know the hold is on. And he says point blank, I expected him to audit those files. See, the question is what he means by investigation. You know, investigation means looking at what happened with Shokin and looking at what happened with Shokin's firing and looking at what happened with this conflict of interest. And if there's something there, then that could be something that he could use as opposition research. And so what you have him is basically saying point blank here, I expected them to follow through with what he said. You know, we had a happy phone call. And Zelensky says, you know, that he's for what I'm for. The hold is on, and he expected him kind of to follow through. So Trump's defense here is going to be that this is a lawful swap. There's nothing lawful. There's nothing unlawful about wanting the country to have sunshine, wanting the country to look at a matter of public concern, wanting the country to do a lawful audit of, you know, nobody's changing an SAT score here. I mean, it's not the kind of thing where you're bribing the coach. It's the kind of thing where I want you to do a public inquiry because it's sunshine and good government, and I want you to be against corruption. And being against corruption is that you make sure when you have these conflicts of interest that your governments take lawful steps to look into them. Zelensky's not violating the law right now. You know, the new prosecutor, they have a new government that came in. The new prosecutor is not violating Ukrainian law by auditing the files. And if there are things that are produced, like their own kind of Mueller report, and it happens that Trump gets that as a happy accident, that's not bribery. That is actually a shrewd kind of swap. All right. To understand how this is characterized in a different fashion, this is the Democrat argument. Here, clip number 24. This is a very important point here that the Democrats are making.
Well, I was going to say, so this is key. This is the cash for the thing Trump wanted. This is what we opened the show with Speaker Pelosi for the first time making the case that the whole point of this, she said, quote, that's bribery because it was money in return for the election help.
But this is the money piece of the bribery scheme that you've been talking so much about, and it could be a really important piece.
So they're continuing to call it bribery, but what I want to read between the lines here.
Well, you see the way that they're trying to characterize this as Trump's got the money, and he won't give them the money unless he gets election assistance. All right. Now, the problem is
this even election assistance?
Well, here's the problem. The problem is that he doesn't have the money. The money flushes out at the end of the year. It has to, or else he's going to have to use the empowerment power. We went through that. Secondly, he doesn't tell the person that there's a hold on it. Okay, so you know, in bribery and extortion, you tell that is what the crime is. The crime in bribery and extortion, the crime is like this: I'm putting a hold on this unless you go out and do something for my campaign. That is right. That's it. And so what you do as a lawyer is you would figure out how not to do that. And remember, I told you in the prior discussion how do you accomplish your goals by not doing that. I told you how the lawyer would do that.
He would suggest
that
so, I think that you're a fair.
Right.
I'm going to have to put that on record.
Well, what you would do, you obviously, you know, you put the hold on. You don't tell him that it's a hold on, and you wait and see what he's going to do for the month of August before you release it. And the question is, what would have happened if Zelensky wasn't on board? Because he was on board in the phone call. That's the real question for me. And I have to be honest with you, I don't know what Trump would have done. This person thinks he knows. I think he's totally wrong on this. Play clip number 25, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, the plot really did come to fruition, and the only reason, Ari, that the money was ultimately released was because they got caught. And here's the thing. If you get caught and you are righteously withholding that money from Ukraine, you don't have to change course.
Wait, this isn't even true, though. He couldn't stop the aid even if he wanted to.
Yeah, this is a very important fact. This guy seems to think that the money flushed out because they got caught, and that seems to be blatantly untrue. The money flushed out because it lawfully had to. I told you last show, Trump didn't have the money. It was appropriated. It was appropriated and going out. And the other
appropriated
thing-
by Congress.
Yeah, it was appropriated by Congress, and it was going out, and impoundment was never in the cards. There's no evidence anywhere that impoundment was in the cards. It's the exact opposite. The OMB was specifically saying, okay, we got this impoundment deadline coming up, so it's got to go now. You can't wait any longer. It's like the plane taking off. You got to go. Come on. So the other thing that I think is very important to understand, I want to do this because this is very important. This whole bribery narrative is very, very convoluted. Think about this. This is what bribery actually is. You get Zelensky in and you say, listen, I'll pay you this money quicker if you give me help. You don't put a delay on it. And you tell him, you say, look, I'll give you the money quicker if you give me the help. You notice Trump's power is only to pay quickly or to pay later. I mean, you only got 2 months, right? You're either going to pay it in July or you're going to pay it September. So bribery would be something like, hey, I'll give it to you early if you give me a favor.
Right,
But notice that doesn't happen. Extortion would be, if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm going to pay you late. That doesn't happen. He doesn't say, listen, I'm paying you late if you don't do this. That doesn't happen. I mean, so it's only whether the money goes out in July or whether it goes out in September is largely irrelevant, and it's not communicated. He doesn't ever communicate to him. So that can't be, that right there, it cannot be a legal bribery. I mean, it's nothing close to it.
How much does it matter that, Trump's motive? How much does Trump's motive matter? Meaning, what if he was just doing it for his sole campaign and not for the, good of the country and making sure that they're against corruption?
Okay, so
according to his narrative.
I think that what you have here is what's called a dirty mind impeachment. In other words, Trump has got a hold on this money. He's not committed any crime. He wants Zelensky to audit those files. He believes that they should audit those files. He believes it's a matter of public corruption, but at the same time, he's self-dealing because he knows that he wants that opposition research. So he's got demons in his head. Look, we all know he's got demons in his head. But the bottom line is, this isn't anything close to bribery. And if anyone is actually saying that in public, they're really giving a lot of social misinformation. If I had told you before, if you had an institutional review of this, like a Mueller report too, let's suppose we got Mueller together and he said, we're going to do an investigation as to whether this is bribery. This would come out and he would say, there's not enough evidence to support this charge. Okay, so that's what happens when the professionals and the institutional people get together to look at the elements of the offenses, the elements, the defenses, and everything else that goes on to it, the law, versus having it in the halls of Congress, having Democrats appear in front of a microphone and do a focus group and use a word. All right, so what I'm trying to get you to understand is there's a distinction between a president who actually commits serious criminality versus a president who's just kind of maybe is otherwise odious, has a dirty mind in releasing money, or these. I think Alan Dershowitz called this a political sin. And somebody else said, look, this might be a reason for you to vote against him, but it's not something that actually is an impeachable offense, although the show is going to go on, and we're going to probably have more things to talk about, I'm sure.
Your only source for truly balanced politics. Broadcast from Wright State University, this is Good Politics with Dr. Sean Wilson and Adam Whiteman.